Welcome back to another episode of the Life Unfiltered podcast. My name is Gabrielle Robinson.
And my name is Vanessa Liu, and we are your co-hosts for the Life Unfiltered podcast.
Today we have a very special guest. He's not from Troy High, he's not from Troy Athens or TCCHS, but he is from the whole entire district. It is our superintendent. Hi, Dr. Machesky. How are you?
Hello, ladies. I am very well. I am excellent, actually. And I'm so happy to be here with the two of you. Not just because there's only about 2.5 weeks of school left, but I had the privilege of meeting you both earlier this year, and you asked me to come on. I said, absolutely, anytime. And I'm glad that you didn't forget to invite me. So even though there's a couple weeks left, we got it in.
Yes. Thank you so much for making time, too. I know you're very busy with all your meetings back to back, but we're so grateful that you were able to come on.
100%. Anything we can do to help students.
So do you want to begin by introducing us to who you are and exactly what you do in your position?
Sure. So I'm very fortunate to serve as a superintendent of the Troy School District. And I often do get asked, like, what does that mean? What does the superintendent do? And it's a long title. For not a terribly exciting job, to be completely honest with you. But I liken it to being the CEO. So I'm essentially the chief executive officer of the school district. The superintendent is hired by the Board of Education, who are elected individuals. I am the only employee that the Board of Education is by law expected to hire. So I serve as the chief executive officer. When I'm talking with students, like oftentimes I'll go into the classroom and I'll be reading to first graders, second graders, and they ask, well, what do you do? Or what does the superintendent do? I liken it to, we have a big school district. We have 21 buildings, over 12,000 students, 10th largest in the school in the state of Michigan. I liken it to, if you would expect that all of the students in our school district and the teachers and the parents and all of those are players on a team, I would just be the coach of the team. And I work together with all of the individuals across our school district to make this the best place that it can be, where every student feels that they belong, and that students can meet whatever goals it is that they've set for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very long job title.
Yeah, it is long. It's a little bit of everything.
Uh-huh. So what does your day-to-day in the office or in the district look like? Yeah,
that's another great question. And the thing I like about my job is every day is typically not the same. So from a day-to-day basis, I have a lot of meetings, and that's not terribly exciting to have meetings, but of late, many of the meetings that I've been having have to do with our bond projects, because we've got multiple bond projects going on within our school district. Smith Middle School is almost halfway to being built. We're going to start Athens this time next year. There's so many exciting things that we're doing. So I get to be in those exciting meetings. I get to meet with community members. I might meet with elected officials. I had the opportunity yesterday to be downtown meeting with a group of superintendents, and we had an opportunity to talk to gubernatorial candidates for the next election. So, and talking about education, it may mean me being in schools. Oftentimes, I love being in schools, being in classrooms, just visiting. I had an opportunity to do that earlier this week as well. So, anything related to our school district, I can get pulled into those conversations. But the best part of my day is when I have an opportunity to spend it with students in some manner or another.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Can you tell us how you got into your position? Did you want to be a superintendent? Like, what did that look like, your journey?
Yeah, so I knew when I was in school, even before high school, I knew I had a feeling that I wanted to be a teacher. My role models were all teachers and coaches that I had, and the coaches were teachers themselves. So I knew really early, maybe as early as 8th grade, that I wanted to be a teacher. And when I got to high school, that just kind of solidified it for me. But I also looked at what the principal did, not because I was in the principal's office all that much. I was in probably more than I should have been, but we'll leave that aside. But I saw what the principal did, and I thought, wow, that's a really cool job. Being a teacher is fun, but being a principal, you really get to impact the school itself. So you get to impact all the teachers and all the students. And so when I went to school, I became a teacher. Shortly thereafter, I had an opportunity to get involved in coaching as an athletic director. Then I got to be a dean of students. Then I had an opportunity to become an assistant principal. So I've been an assistant principal at a junior high, assistant principal at a high school principal. Then I moved into central office. All the time seeking opportunities for leadership, but at the same time also seeking opportunities for education. So got advanced degrees and at some point I said, wow, the kind of the pinnacle of leadership in schools is the superintendency. So hey, if I could do that, that would be awesome. Kind of like the icing on the cake for my career. And I've been doing this now as superintendent for going on 12 years, and I love it. It from my perspective, it's the best job around.
Wow. Yeah. So with your position, there probably comes a lot of difficulties with a lot of conversations because you have to speak and, talk to a lot of people, teachers, staff. So can you walk us through how you go through those difficult conversations?
Yeah, it is. And you're right. It happens. They're inevitable. We are in schools, we are people serving people. And whenever you have people that are working together, you're going to have conflict. And where there's conflict, you're going to have difficult conversations. I live by my team, my assistant superintendents and the principals have heard me say this multiple times, and they probably would roll their eyes if they heard me say it. But I kind of the thing that I live by is that bad news doesn't get better with time. So if you've got to deliver bad news to somebody or you have to have a difficult conversation, it doesn't get better with time. So you're best just addressing it up front, and that's kind of how I operate. I try to, as quickly as possible, deliver information that may not be well received. But also, if there's a conflict, engaging in that conflict soon, not letting it fester, just kind of getting after it and clearing whatever the concerns are, clearing those up, and allowing an opportunity for people to continue to be productive in whatever it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of like what our topic of conversation is going to be about today, because a lot of high schoolers, and I know like for myself, whenever like having a difficult conversation, there's always like a little bit of hesitancy, like when to bring it up, how to go about it. And we see that obviously you're a superintendent. So like Nessa said, you probably encounter a lot of those like conversations in your job. So we want to hear from you, like how do we do that, and like why people may fear it, and just like what we should go about and how like to approach difficult conversations.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, I appreciate you tackling this conversation because I agree. This is a difficult conversation, talking about difficult conversations. I mean, let's be honest. But at the end of the day, so many of the conflicts that we see are easily resolved if parties come together and explain their thinking around what it is they're feeling, or what it is, or why they're doing what they're doing, and so forth. And oftentimes we find they're very the differences are very minimal. Mm-hmm. If we just took time to explain it to one another, not take to social media, not take sides, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. That's when we get ourselves into trouble, and that's when issues begin to fester. But just sitting down, like we're sitting across from one another, and talking about what's important to us, and talking about what's bothering us, are ways in which we can avoid these conflicts.
Yeah, so what would you do when you know a conversation needs to happen, but you know the other person isn't ready for it?
I think that the best thing to do would be to acknowledge that. Say, look, Vanessa, there's clearly something going on here. You're upset about something that I might have said, that I might have done. I sense you're not ready to have this conversation, but when might you be ready? Might you be ready tomorrow? Might you be ready an hour from now? Mm-hmm. Well, how much time do you need in order for us to have this conversation? Because I value you as a friend, I value you as a colleague, I value you as a teammate, whatever it is. I want to have this conversation, mm-hmm. but I also respect you and the way you're feeling. How much time do you need? And try to. So I'm acknowledging the individual. I'm acknowledging the concern. I may not know what transpired. I may not know what's causing the concern, but that I value it enough to ask you, when will you be ready?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like people aren't very like receptive of that form of communication. So let's say after you did that, like what are the next steps?
I think the next steps are honoring what you said. So if you said to me, like, I'm just not ready today, but let's talk about this tomorrow, that I honor that, and tomorrow we come back and we have that conversation. Are you ready now to have that conversation? You said tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Are you ready for that conversation? If so, let's talk about this. Because you're right. I think so much of it is just acknowledging that someone has been hurt, someone is feeling as if whatever occurred to them is weighing on them. So acknowledging that, and then also making sure that they understand that you're important and your concerns are important, but this can't continue. If we're gonna continue to have if we're gonna have a positive relationship with one another, this cannot continue. Whether you're my friend, you're my colleague, you're my teammate, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
A lot of our guests, like prior, were high schoolers, or we had a lot of faculty as well. But a lot of the high schoolers they talked about with friendships, there obviously are a lot of miscommunication and things like that. Do you think like there's a form of immaturity with like younger people, and then when they transition to adulthood that they change and they're like more able to be receptive to difficult conversations, and like does that change as they get older? Or
Yeah, that's a great observation. I think there is something to be said for that. As we mature, of course, we get better at doing certain things. But I have to tell you, I deal regularly with adult concerns, adult issues, whether they're within the organization or whether they're outside the organization. And I have seen young people be far more resourceful when it comes to addressing issues than some adults that I have honestly have had the opportunity to deal with. I think when we talk about restorative practices, for instance, that's something that we've been utilizing in our buildings. Typically, it's around discipline, but you could have a restorative conversation. Restorative practices is about restoring a relationship. Someone was hurt based upon something that occurred. Restorative practices is bringing the parties together to say, we're acknowledging what happened, but for the benefit of the relationship, for the benefit of the classroom, for the benefit of the school, we've got to come together and we have to resolve this. So I've seen youngsters, middle schoolers, high schoolers be a part of those conversations and handle those extremely well. But there is something to be said. Certainly there's maturity involved with it. But I see examples regularly of young people engaging in healthy conversations in order to resolve conflict. I think we can do more. And I'm glad that you're having this conversation and you're acknowledging it, because we need to do more.
yeah.
I love everything you're saying, because I see it comes from a place of empathy and understanding, and just having conversations and validating the other person's experiences and feelings is so important. So I love how you're like talking about giving them time, making sure they feel like they're heard, and just taking it step by step.
Yeah, and the other important thing is doing it face to face is also both valuable, and I think it's necessary. And we live in a society where it's very easy to pick up a phone and text somebody, or it's easy to email someone. And what's lost in text and email is the face to face. It's the empathy, right? It's my ability to see that you're hurt, acknowledge that you're hurt, or vice versa, and be able to show, by my emotions, how much I care. And I think we've lost some of that to some degree. It doesn't mean we can't get that back. So making it a point too, if I have to have a tough conversation, I'm going to have this face to face. I'm not going to email it, or I'm not going to send a text. And we talk about it with our administrators often, is the best way to have that conversation with that parent is not via email. It's via phone, or inviting them into a face to face conversation.
Yeah. So, have you ever been persuaded or changed your stance because of disagreement with a colleague?
Oh yes, all the time, all the time. I will be the first to acknowledge I am not the smartest guy in the room. I would like to think that I am, but I learned that early on. I have worked really hard to surround myself with good people. We have an exceptional team in the Troy School District at the central office level, at the board level, at the building level. We have worked really hard. And I say we have worked really hard because it's not me, but we have worked really hard to hire good people. And when I'm in a room with these people, I am not the smartest guy in the room. So I am regularly convinced not to do something, or to do something that maybe I hadn't thought about. So this goes back to, again, being open to dialogue, being open to listening to what other people have to say. And oftentimes conflict is not about It's not about what was said. It's about what I perceive was said, because I might have heard something. You didn't intend it,
Right.
but I heard it and I took from that something that you never intended for me to, it's impact versus intent, right? You didn't intend for me to be upset, but the impact on me was that I was upset and maybe I just wasn't listening. So active listening is such an important part of conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Ms. Zoll said the same thing on one of our other podcasts, so maybe it's like something that we need to figure out in adulting.
Yeah.
So why do you think people fear hard conversations, especially like within the school district?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from a place of I don't want to hurt somebody's feeling.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want, you're my colleague and I don't want our friendship to be harmed, so I'm going to ignore something or I'm going to bury something that is bothering me. And we never entirely bury something because eventually it's going to come back up. And it always comes back up at the worst time. It comes back up when I'm mad. And then I say something that I shouldn't have said, but it's been bottled up inside of me because I didn't address it when I had the opportunity. So oftentimes it's just I don't want to have that tough conversation because I don't want to upset you. And recognizing that the best thing I can do is have that conversation because it clears the air and allows us to have a more healthy relationship moving forward. Yeah. And that goes for at home with our families too, whether it be a spouse or whether it be a child or whether it be a sibling. That holds for the way we deal with one another at home.
Yeah. So obviously communication is so important with how you approach conversations, with how you say it, with your tone. Can you explain how communication also forms a sense of belonging at the Troy School District?
Yeah. Again, another excellent point. One of the hardest things to do in a large organization, and the school district is a large organization. We during the day we are the second largest employer in the city of Troy.
Wow.
The hospital is the largest. Corewell is the largest. We're the second largest employer. So on any given day, there's 1,400 individuals, if not even more, that are involved in making our school district go round, right? Making a successful day in our school district is probably over 1,400. And communication continues to be one of the biggest challenges that we face. How do I make sure that everyone hears what they need to hear, that everyone understands what they need to understand, and so forth, and doing it in a manner that's expeditious, doing it in a manner that is factual, and so forth. So communication continues to be something that we're working on as an organization. We're certainly not great at it. I think we're really good at it, but we're not as great as we need to be at it yet. So that's something we will continue to focus on as an organization, but it's hugely important.
Yeah. Something that I wish that I love TSD. I've been going here since kindergarten, and we learned about like filling your bucket and all that in elementary school, and I still remember that. And Addison and Diana talked about that in one of our podcasts. But I think that a lot of what we learn in elementary school is like fundamental for when we become adults. And I would have loved if like when I was younger, if we talked about like healthily communicating with someone, and especially when like in face of conflict, because I haven't really had like conflict in elementary school, but like if I were to, like I wish that there would have been an adult that sat down and was like, hey, like this is how we address it and this is how we move forward. Because I feel like when you're in middle school and you're in high school, people are just kind of like, they like talk bad about other people when, you know, conflict like happens. And if we learn from an early age like how to address it, I feel like that probably won't happen as like we progress throughout life. So.
Yeah, those are important skills. I mean, that's character, right? That's built into the character education that is in all of our elementaries. It's on all of our middle schools. But you bring up a good point. Those were being intentional around talking about conflict and how we resolve conflict as early as middle school, even well, elementary for sure, but in middle school, maybe during advisory periods and things, like having some very specific conversations around that. There's a very famous book, and it's an old book, but it's entitled "Everything I Need to Learn." Everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten. It's very, very true. You think about playground politics, right? Everything you need to know you learned on the playground. It's about keeping your hands to yourself. It's about being inclusive, right? Inviting others into play, conversation. It's about being respectful of one another. Those are things that we expect from youngsters as early as kindergarten, but even as adults, we can continue to learn from those experiences because everything can be summed up in something as simple as be kind, right, to yourself and to one another. Don't talk about others. Be empathetic. All of those things that sometimes we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is kind of like an open air for everyone. So the statement is, sometimes agreeing to disagree is just avoidance in disguise. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? And what is the responsible way to handle disagreements?
I agree with that. I can see that happening, and there are some times, for instance, when I'm in complete transparency. There are times where I might be in a difficult situation, a difficult conversation, and I'm frustrated, and I end with, "We'll just agree to disagree." It's a way to bring closure. It's probably not the most healthy way to bring closure, and so I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of temporary just to agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It won't like fully resolve the conflict in between, but
Right.
it's just something to say for the moment.
It doesn't go away, but maybe it's better. Maybe it's better than the alternative, which is becoming angry and saying something that you can't take back at that point, and potentially long term harming a relationship. And maybe it's okay, we'll agree to disagree. Let's stop here, and then let's come back to this conversation, because obviously there needs to be more conversation.
Right.
Right.
So this is going to be one of our last questions.
Okay.
What is a hot take that you have that most people in education might not agree with?
A hot take. This is one. I was invited to talk with some folks in a program, an educational continuation program, a couple of months ago, and there are folks both in education and outside of education that would like to suggest that education is broken as a system, that our students are failing, and so forth. That's
crazy.
It's a popular narrative, not here in the Troy School District, but it's a popular narrative nationally. Michigan students are failing. They're 40 whatever in reading in third grade, and so forth and so on. And statistics are what they are. But my hot take would be, I think young people are as smart, if not smarter, than they've ever been. I think they do more now than they've ever done. I think we ask more from young people now than we've asked for them in the past. The expectations for youngsters have increased significantly.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I think you're meeting the challenge. I don't buy the narrative that schools are failing. I don't buy the narrative that education as a whole is in Michigan. I'll use Michigan as an example, is failing. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite. I think we're doing really good work, and because I see that on a daily basis in the Troy School District, I see that in both of you and the work that you do. And in a couple of weeks, we're gonna welcome 1,000 graduates across the stage in the Troy School District. 98+% of youngsters will graduate from the Troy School District, and those that don't have a reason for that. And they're going to go and do great things. They're going to go to college and university. They're going to go into the military. They're going to go and work. They're going to take a gap year. Whatever it is that they're going to do, but they're going to do great things. I don't buy that narrative. I believe in our young people. I believe in the people that educate our young people. I believe in the Troy community because I do think that it's one of the best for education. So when people want to share that, whether it be in the media or whether it be in social media, I just don't buy it. And in fact, when I can, I push back against it because I just know how hard our young people work. And the things that they do, both in our classrooms and outside of our classrooms. Great example. I mean, the two of you received first place video for your video interview with MIPA. So congratulations to the both of you. First place. See, here it started as a podcast, just having fun with one another, and it grew to you earning a first place award at the state level for your video interview. So
yes, thank you.
Again,
Thank you so much.
You all do great work. the students across our school district do great work. That's why I'm honored to serve as the superintendent of the Troy School District, and that's why it's, from my perspective, one of the best jobs around.
Wow, that was so sweet.
That was sweet.
Like, I just want to thank you for all you've done, all you do. And obviously, we don't see what you do behind, the stage and everything. But I know you put so much work in. The way you speak, I know you're such a good leader. I know you're doing great things for the Troy School District. And I just want to recognize that and thank you so much.
Well, thank you both for finally getting me on before the end of the school year. I almost missed my opportunity, but I'm glad that I had an opportunity to be here with the both of you, and I wish you well as you move on to your next stage.
Thank you. And thank you for also understanding us as students. That means a lot to me, and I know it does to Vanessa,
100%,
too.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, thank you once again for making time to be on our podcast today. And thank you so much for our audience for tuning in on this week's episode. You guys know where to find us at life.unfilteredpod on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify.
Oh, and we're also seniors, so we're going to be gone soon. So if you want to be a guest, please DM us, and we're going to hurry up and try to schedule a meeting for you before we go away.
Yes, so we do plan to film throughout June, right? So we have a little, a month left. So guys, hit us up. We're excited to continue this. And it's just been such a good journey. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yes, thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. We're your co-hosts, Vanessa Liu
and Gabrielle Robinson.
And always remember to embrace the mess and live life unfiltered.
Bye, guys!